No, the fuck they not. Oh my God, they came over here to talk to them that they violated. Yo, they violated them. They violated them. No, they violated them. Oh, they not stopping. Oh my God. Y'all get back in your car. Black. Black. Oh my
shit.
God, look, they laughing at them.
What they saying?
So let's talk about this video for a minute. And this thing, I mean, this video's made its rounds for obvious reasons, for good reason. I mean, it's been on everything from local news all the way up to some of the national cable networks. I'll admit, when I first watched this, I think my reaction was probably the same as anybody's reaction would be if they've ever put on a uniform of any kind, especially cops, and probably a vast majority of the population of the United States. And that reaction was absolute fucking disbelief and outrage. I mean, I was fucking pissed. Not gonna lie. I was mad. And I was raising 4 shades of hell at the TV screen, and I guess that's probably a pretty reasonable reaction. I mean, we're watching cops doing their job, putting a bad guy in jail, and then they're descended upon by a group of nefarious douchebags who doused them with water, and in one instance actually hit one of the officers in the back of the head with a bucket. I mean, I can't even get my head around that. The level of douchebaggery that would be required to do something like that. Now, am I surprised by it? Absolutely not. Not even surprised this much, because that's the world we live in, and that's the world we've been living in for the last 15 years, I guess. So after I got over my initial anger, I decided to go back and rewatch this thing a few times and kind of try and put myself in their shoes. Because I was wondering, why are you not gobsnatching these idiots and putting handcuffs on people and taking them to jail? Why are you not hooking up that entire city block to the back of your patrol car and dragging the whole thing away? So, to look at it through a critical eye, because I've said it before and I'll say it again, I don't like to Monday morning quarterback because I wasn't there to see the see and smell the smells and hear the hears. So it's hard to, it's almost impossible to pass judgment on somebody. But what was the situation at the time? You've got one person in custody and you've got three or four officers out. So how do you take an already escalating situation and keep it from escalating further? Because one, we as the viewers, as those watching this unfold, we don't know how many people were out there. I mean, we know there was minimum 4 or 5, right? But let's say, for the sake of argument, that you grab the guy that hit you with the bucket. Well, how many more people are going to come out of their homes to replace him? Are you going to go from dealing with 4 or 5 unruly assholes to dealing with an entire city block full of unruly assholes? I don't know. So while you've got the one person, the person you already have in custody, you've got to deal with him. So you either have to put him on the ground, and you're obligated to take care of this dude, right? Because he's in your custody. So do you chuck him in the back of a car or put him on the ground and go after one of these other people? In the meantime, one of the other people that are on scene come up and grab this guy and run off with him. Or worse yet, you put this guy on the ground or put him in the car, go after the guy that hit you with the bucket or doused you with water, and then 10 people join him in chasing you. Well, now you've got what's, 4 or 5 people throwing water and dumping water on you to a a situation that could escalate exponentially. I mean, that could go from hey, you're under arrest for, assault and battery, or you're under arrest for disorderly conduct, to winding up having to shoot somebody because this thing got out of hand. So were they better off getting wet and getting the in custody back to wherever detention facility they were going to, or were they better off to address the situation as it unfolded and start snatching bodies and putting them in jail? Either way, it has to be addressed. This cannot go unanswered. And as of just a little while ago, it looks like there's been a couple, if not 3 arrests of these people already. But are you better off taking the bath and then going back and signing warrants on these people? Or are you better off trying to address it and risking escalating an already shitty situation? I don't know. Again, I wasn't there. But again, the situation cannot go unanswered. It has to be addressed. The DA's office there in New York has to file charges. These people have to go to trial or make a plea. There has to be retribution for this. Well, maybe retribution's not the... There has to be justice served. Right? This cannot go unpunished. Because as soon as it goes unpunished, then that sends a message to the rest of that community, the rest of that element, that criminal element, that they can do whatever the fuck they want to do and there's not going to be any penalty for it. They can just run amok and treat the officers however they want to treat the officers. Now, let me back up just a second and address the whole throwing of water. What if that hadn't been water? I mean, there's precedence in this world for, acid attacks. Could that have been a bucket full of battery acid? Could it be piss? Could it be raw sewage? It could have been anything. I mean, it was just water, as it turns out, but it could have been bleach, So that's a very dangerous thing to do. And if it goes unpunished, then it allows people to think, well, you know what? That time it was just water, but I'm going to really send a message this time, and it's going to be sulfuric acid, or it's going to be Clorox, or whatever the case may be. So it has to be dealt with. Has to be dealt with. My question to you is, looking at it in retrospect, from a 30,000-foot view, are you better off taking the bath, making identification of the bad guys, signing warrants, and then making arrests, or are you better off addressing the problem in that moment? We saw what happened, and listen, it still infuriates me to watch those officers get doused with water. I mean, imagine how ashamed they must have felt. Imagine how helpless they must have felt. Imagine how mad they were. And do you know why they felt that way? Because they've got a cell phone society where everybody's got a camera, and if they had done anything, you were going to get 10 seconds of a clip of 2 cops dragging down somebody and putting handcuffs on him with a bunch of people in the background screaming, he didn't do anything, they arrested him for no reason. Then to put another layer on top of that, you've got a political administration in New York that, I mean, it's pretty clear how they feel about their law enforcement officers. Now, granted, the police commissioner and some of the union guys obviously spoke up, and I would expect the police commissioner to, because he's a fucking cop. But in that moment, at that moment when all that was happening, do you think those officers could guarantee themselves that they were going to be backed up? Or did they worry that they were going to be thrown under the fucking school bus? Did we just witness the Ferguson effect in real life as it unfolded? Is what we saw a symptom of a greater problem? I mean, you know the answer to that. I'm just, I guess, asking rhetorically. So at the end of the day, my question to you is, what would you have done and why? Would you have done it differently? If so, how? And I'm going to leave you with that. Do me a favor, subscribe to the page, leave any comments in the comment section, and yeah, be good or be good at it. We'll see you soon.